Ladies, hear me today. I am speaking to the woman who has been broken, battered, and beaten down by life, but who refuses to stay down. I am speaking to the woman who's been told she is not enough, not worthy, not capable. But God himself is in the business of rewriting destinies. Somewhere in the depths of your pain, God is working. He is rebuilding you. He is not just patching the pieces. He is creating something stronger, something greater, something unshakable. He is taking your ashes and he is preparing you to rise like a phoenix. Oh, I know the trials you faced. I know the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the disappointments. I know the nights you prayed and felt like your prayers bounced off the ceiling. Here is the truth. The very fire that tried to destroy you is the fire that will refine you. Very challenges that tried to break you are the stepping stones to your breakthrough. Listen, God does not rebuild to return you what you were. He rebuilds to prepare you for what you are called to be. He rebuilds to give you strength that can withstand storms. He rebuilds to give you wisdom that surpasses understanding. He rebuilds to give you influence, not just over your own life, over the lives of those who need your light. Do not despise the slow work of restoration, every moment of waiting, every season of silence, every tear that falls. It is God's workshop. He is molding your character, your courage, and your faith. And when he is done, you will not just survive, you will thrive. You will rise like a phoenix. The world will have no choice but to recognize the power of a woman God has rebuilt. So stand today, shake off the chains of yesterday. Step into the calling God has prepared for you. Do not be afraid of your own strength. Do not be ashamed of your own scars. Every scar is proof of survival. Every tear is proof of testimony. Every trial is proof that your God is not finished with you. Rise, woman of God, rise! Your comeback is greater than your setback. Your victory is louder than your pain. The fire tried to consume you, but it only forged you. You are unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniable. You are a phoenix rising from the ashes with a beauty, a power, and a purpose that no one can extinguish. When God rebuilds a woman, she does not just live, she transforms lives, inspires generations, and changes history. Today, claim your power. Today, rise like a phoenix. Today, step into the glory God has prepared for you. There's a quiet power in acknowledging pain. So often we rush past it, we hide it, we stuff it into corners of our hearts as if the world will crumble if we admit that we hurt. But let me tell you this today, God does not call you to pretend. He does not call you to mask your suffering. He calls you to recognize it, face it, and understand it, for in that recognition begins the work of transformation. Pain is real, it is raw, it is honest, and it does not discriminate. It comes to the young and old, the strong and weak, the faithful and the wavering. Pain comes as betrayal, as disappointment, as loss, as confusion. It comes as the sharp words of a friend you trusted, closing of a door you thought was your destiny, the silence of a prayer that seems to go unanswered. It comes in 1,000 forms, some so subtle that you almost don't notice them until one day they have rooted themselves deep inside your soul. And the first step in healing, the very first step in God's rebuilding process, is not to ignore it, but to see it clearly, to admit, yes, this hurts. Yes, I am struggling. Yes, my heart is heavy. My dreams have been deferred. My hope feels fragile. Recognition is not weakness. It is strength. It is courage. It is the act of looking the storm in the eye and saying, I see you. I feel you. I will not deny you. You see, pain is not a mistake. Pain is not a punishment. Pain is not a signal that God has abandoned you. Pain is part of the divine process of shaping you. Every tear that has rolled down your cheek has been watched. Every sleepless night has been known. Every whispered word of despair has been heard. And God is not indifferent. In fact, he is intimately involved in every moment of it because your pain is his workshop and he is the master builder. Sometimes people will try to comfort you with platitudes. It could be worse. Just move on. Time heals all wounds. And while some of that may have truth in certain seasons, it misses the point. You must first acknowledge the wound. You cannot heal what you refuse to name. You cannot grow from what you refuse to face until you stand in the light of your own pain and say, this has hurt me. This has shaped me. It will not define me. The rebuilding process cannot truly begin. Pain is like fire, it burns, it consumes, it can leave scars that feel permanent. But fire, when recognized and understood, is also a source of purification. It clears away the debris of false hope. It melts away pride that hides vulnerability, strips away illusions that hold us captive. To recognize your pain is to step into the fire with open eyes, knowing that even as it burns, it is also preparing you for a greater purpose. Recognition also means giving yourself permission to feel. In a world that often equates strength with stoicism, to feel deeply is an act of courage. To admit sadness, anger, grief, or disappointment is not a failing. It is proof that your heart is alive, that your soul is capable of depth, that you are human and therefore capable of resilience. God does not call you to numb your emotions. He calls you to process them with His guidance. Pain acknowledged is pain understood, and pain understood is the first step toward empowerment. For the woman who has been hurt by betrayal, whether from a friend, a lover, or even a family member, recognition is the key to freedom. She must allow herself to say, yes, I trusted. Yes, I was hurt. Yes, I cried. Because until she names the betrayal, she cannot release it. Until she names the hurt, she cannot begin to rebuild the boundaries, the wisdom, and the self-respect that God intends for her. Recognition is not dwelling in bitterness. It is seeing clearly so you can rise above. For the woman whose dreams have been delayed or deferred, recognition means admitting, this is hard. This is disappointing. I feel discouraged. It is allowing yourself to grieve the life you imagined, the career you hoped for, the relationships you long to build. But it is not resignation. Recognition is not surrender. It is the necessary pause before the next step, the acknowledgement that you cannot jump to restoration without first accepting reality. Pain, when recognized, also cultivates empathy. When you know the depth of suffering in your own life, you can better understand the struggles of others. The woman who has experienced heartbreak can become a source of comfort to those who are hurting. Woman who has known can become a voice of wisdom to those who are confused. Recognition of pain is not just personal, it has a ripple effect. Acknowledging your struggle allows God to use your life to heal others. Some days you may feel strong enough to face the hurt. Other days it may overwhelm you. That is okay. Do not be ashamed of the process. Healing is messy. Restoration is rarely neat. But every moment you spend naming your pain, every tear you allow to fall, every sigh you release in honesty before God is a brick in the foundation of your new self. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. And here is the greatest truth. When you recognize your pain, you also recognize your power. Because pain acknowledged is not pain allowed to dominate. Pain acknowledged is pain transformed. Pain acknowledged is the beginning of resurrection. It is the moment you take what sought to break you and begin the process of turning it into fuel for your rise. It is the moment when God whispers, I am not finished with you. Your story is not over. This is only the beginning of your comeback. So today, I speak to every woman who has been broken, every soul that has been tested, every heart that has been wounded. Do not run from your pain. Do not pretend it does not exist. Do not let the world convince you that ignoring it makes you strong. Face it, name it, understand it, and then hand it over to the God who rebuilds. For when you recognize your pain, you open the door to restoration, renewal, and resurrection. And one day, that same pain will become the testimony of your triumph, the fuel of your faith, and the platform from which you rise like a phoenix. Recognizing your pain is not the end. It is the beginning of the story God has always intended for you. It is the moment when the ashes of yesterday meet the fire of divine purposes. And from that recognition, everything changes. Everything becomes possible. Everything becomes holy. There's a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that she is not the same person she was yesterday. Perhaps it was the heartbreak that shook her foundations, the betrayal that made her question trust, or the failure that made her doubt her purpose. And in that moment, when she feels like she is unraveling, she must understand this truth: God is not done. Not yet. He is rebuilding you, not with scraps of who you were, but with the raw materials of your spirit, your heart, and your faith. This is divine reconstruction. Divine reconstruction is not simply about repairing what is broken. It is not about patching the pieces together so that you can function again. No, divine reconstruction is far greater than that. It is a transformation that goes deeper than the surface. It reaches into the core of your being, reshaping your character, refining your values, and recalibrating your destiny. It is God taking the person you thought you were, the woman you believed you could be, and turning her into someone extraordinary, someone unstoppable, someone empowered, someone fully aligned with his purpose. In the midst of trials, we ask, why me? Why is this happening to me? And God whispers back, because I am rebuilding you. Every challenge, every setback, every loss is not a punishment. It is part of the blueprint. God's hands are not casual. They are precise, intentional, and purposeful. And in his reconstruction, nothing is wasted. The failures that stung, the mistakes that humiliated, pain that broke your heart, all of it is being carefully woven into a masterpiece that only he could create. Divine reconstruction requires patience, because God's work cannot be rushed. You may look at the pieces of your life and wonder, will I ever be whole again? Will I ever feel strong again? Will I ever trust again? And God answers, yes, but it will be in my timing, not yours. The process may feel slow. Every moment of waiting is purposeful. Every season of silence is sacred. Every tear you shed is a seed that will grow into resilience, wisdom, and strength. Do not despise the slow work of reconstruction, for great masterpieces take time to emerge. One of the most powerful aspects of divine reconstruction is that it does not simply restore you to who you were. It elevates you to who you were meant to be. Does not rebuild women to return them to their former limitations. No, he rebuilds to release them into their full potential. He strengthens what was weak, heals what was wounded, and purifies what was flawed. The woman who walks out of God's reconstruction process is not just alive. She is vibrant, radiant, unstoppable. She is no longer defined by what happened to her. She is defined by who God has made her to be. Divine reconstruction is also a deeply intimate process. It requires surrender, trust, and vulnerability. You cannot rebuild what you refuse to let go of. You cannot allow God to reconstruct your life if you are clinging to bitterness, resentment, or shame. Process demands that you hand over the pieces of yourself that you cannot fix, that you cannot control, and that you cannot fully understand. And when you do, God begins his masterpiece. He works in the shadows, in the quiet moments, in the unseen places of your heart. He aligns your thoughts, reshapes your desires, prepares your spirit for the calling ahead. Sometimes divine reconstruction looks like solitude. Sometimes it looks like loss. Sometimes it looks like waiting. But every moment is intentional. Every moment is sacred. Every moment is part of a plan designed to bring glory to your life, not just for yourself, but for others. You may feel invisible, forgotten, or abandoned. You may question if God still cares. But remember this, reconstruction happens in private before it is revealed in public. The world may not see the rebuilding process, but God is at work crafting, shaping, and elevating you into someone extraordinary. Divine reconstruction also produces a strength that cannot be manufactured. When God rebuilds, he does not just restore your confidence. He instills a confidence rooted in truth, in faith, and in purpose. You will not simply know that you are capable. You will know that God has equipped you for what you are facing. You will not just hope for victory. You will walk in victory, because the reconstruction process has prepared you to withstand trials, overcome obstacles, and rise above the challenges that once threatened to defeat you. The beauty of divine reconstruction is that it equips you to help others rise as well. The woman who has been rebuilt becomes a beacon of hope for those still in the fire. Her scars become a testimony. Her story becomes a source of inspiration. Her triumph becomes a platform to lift others who are broken, battered, or lost. Divine reconstruction is never selfish. God rebuilds to expand your reach, to multiply your influence, and to amplify your impact in ways you could never imagine. The reconstruction process may be uncomfortable. It may challenge your beliefs, your desires, and even your identity. It may require letting go of dreams that no longer serve your highest purpose. It may demand a surrender that feels impossible, and yet this is where faith steps in. Faith allows you to trust that even in discomfort, God is building something far greater than you can see. Faith allows you to believe that the work He is doing is perfect, even when it is hard. Faith allows you to move forward, knowing that you are being rebuilt into a masterpiece that reflects God's glory. So, if you are feeling broken today, if your heart is heavy, if your dreams seem deferred, I want you to hear this: God is not finished with you. He is working, He is shaping, He is rebuilding. You may not understand the process, you may not see the progress, but trust the work of His hands. Every piece of your life that feels shattered is being reassembled into something magnificent. Every setback, every disappointment, every loss is being transformed into the foundation of your comeback. Divine reconstruction is the promise that your story is far from over. It is the assurance that your past will not define your future. It is the declaration that God is making something beautiful out of your ashes. And one day, when the world sees you rise, they will not see the brokenness that came before. They will see the strength, the glory, and the power of a woman God has rebuilt. Rise in faith, stand in hope, trust the process, and know this: you are not just being repaired, you are being rebuilt into a woman of divine strength, purpose, and influence. When God is done, you will not recognize the limits that once held you. You will not be defined by the pain that once tried to stop you. You will walk in freedom, in power, and in victory. You are a masterpiece in progress, a divine work of art, and the world will have no choice but to recognize the glory of God in your life. Every woman who has ever walked the path of faith knows this truth. Life will test you. Trials are inevitable. Challenges are unavoidable. Storms will come, and in those storms, you will feel like the very foundations of your life are being shaken. But let me tell you something powerful today. Trials are not meant to destroy you. Trials are not the end of your story. Trials are God's furnace, His crucible, His workshop designed to refine you, strengthen you, prepare you for the purpose He has set before you. Refinement is not easy. It is uncomfortable. It is often painful. It is a process that demands perseverance, patience, and faith that goes beyond sight. And yet, this is where the power of God's rebuilding truly shines. You see, a woman who has never been tested cannot fully understand the depth of her strength. She may possess knowledge, talent, and ambition, but without trials, she will never realize the power of her spirit. Trials are not obstacles, they are opportunities. They are the forge in which courage is born, wisdom is strengthened, and faith becomes unshakable. Fire is destructive, yes, but it also purifies. It consumes the dross, it melts away impurities, and it strengthens the metals within. In the same way, trials strip away what is weak, what is superficial, and what is unworthy in our lives. They reveal the areas where we lean on human strength instead of divine power. They expose the doubts, fears, and insecurities that have hidden in our hearts. While the process may feel like burning, God is using it to refine you into something far more resilient than you could ever imagine. The key to understanding refinement is perspective. Many women look at trials and say,
"Why me?
Why is this happening to me?" And that question is not wrong, it is human. But when you shift your perspective, you begin to see that trials are not punishments, but invitations. Invitations to grow, invitations to deepen your faith, invitations to prove, first to yourself and then to the world, that you are not defined by circumstances, but by the power of the God who lives within you. They reveal your true priorities. They show who you really are when the masks are gone, when the pretense falls away, when no one is watching but God. A woman who has been refined through trials does not crumble under pressure. She does not compromise her values. She does not shrink in the face of adversity. Instead, she stands taller. She walks with purpose. She speaks with authority. She knows who she is, and what she is called to do. Consider the storms that have come in your life. Maybe it was a relationship that ended unexpectedly. Maybe it was a career setback that left you questioning your direction. Maybe it was betrayal, disappointment, or a loss so deep that it felt insurmountable. In those moments, you may have felt broken, weary, or even abandoned. But those storms were not random. They were a part of the divine process of refinement. They were designed to strip away everything that is not essential so that only the strong, purified, resilient woman remains. Endurance is not something you can learn in times of ease. It is forged in the fires of difficulty. When life tests you, you learn patience. You learn persistence. You learn that no matter how heavy the burden, no matter how dark the night, you can rise again because God's strength is made perfect in weakness. Every trial endured is a building block. Every challenge overcome is proof that you are capable of more than you once believed. One of the most beautiful aspects of refinement through trials is that it produces wisdom. Knowledge can be taught, experience can be gained. Wisdom comes from walking through fire and emerging intact, tempered, and enlightened. A woman refined by trials speaks with insight, acts with discernment, leads with understanding. She can navigate storms with grace, respond to adversity with courage, and offer guidance to others who are still in the fire. Her past trials become her testimony, her classroom, and her source of influence. Refinement is also an act of faith. It requires trusting God when the outcome is unclear, believing in His promises when circumstances seem hopeless, and surrendering control. When life feels uncertain, faith in the midst of trials is not passive, it is active. It is a conscious decision to stand, to persevere, to hold on to hope, even when the world around you seems to be falling apart. And that faith, when exercised in the crucible of life, becomes unshakable, unyielding, and powerful. Another critical aspect of refinement is transformation. Trials do not just shape your character, they shape your destiny. The struggles you endure today are laying the foundation for your triumphs tomorrow. The lessons learned in the fire are equipping you to lead, to inspire, to impact others. Every tear, every setback, every disappointment is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your future victory. God does not waste trials. He redeems them. He repurposes them. He uses them to craft a woman who is strong, wise, and unstoppable. Refinement through trials is not a journey that happens overnight. It is a process. It is slow. It is sometimes excruciating. And yet, it is the very process that produces greatness. The woman who emerges from this fire is not only beautiful, she is powerful. She is not only resilient, she is influential. She is not only victorious, she is a living testimony of God's faithfulness. Do not despise the fire. Do not curse the storm. Do not allow fear, frustration, or doubt to blind you to divine purpose at work. Stand firm. Hold your faith. Trust that every challenge, every hardship, every difficulty is being used to refine you into the woman God intended you to be. And when the process is complete, you will rise, not just as a survivor, as a conqueror, not just as a woman, but as a force of God's power and glory. Gold is refined in fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Steel is tempered in heat. And so too is the woman who walks with God. She is forged through trials, polished through adversity, and strengthened through struggle. She emerges radiant, resilient, and unstoppable. She becomes a beacon of hope for others, a testimony of faith, vessel of God's power. They are the refining process. They are the fire that transforms weakness into strength, pain into power, and ashes into glory. Embrace the process, trust the purpose, lean on God, and let the fire do its work. Because the woman who is refined through trials does not just rise. She rises like a phoenix, transformed, empowered, and unstoppable. Survival is necessary. There are seasons in every woman's life where just getting through the day feels like a victory. Just breathing through the pain, facing the challenges, keeping your head above water, these are achievements that deserve recognition. But let me speak to you today about something far greater than mere survival. I am talking about living with purpose, walking in your destiny, and fulfilling the calling that God has placed on your life. There is a difference between surviving and thriving, between existing and living fully, between enduring life and transforming it. Many women settle for survival because it feels safe. They cling to the familiar, the predictable, the routines that keep the chaos at bay. And there's nothing wrong with surviving. Sometimes it is all we can do. But God did not create you merely to survive. He created you to live abundantly, to walk boldly, to shine brightly. He created you with gifts, with influence, and with a calling that cannot be contained by mere existence. Survival is the first step. Purpose is the journey. To live beyond survival, you must first see yourself through God's eyes. Survival is about holding on. Purpose is about stepping out. It is about understanding that the struggles you have endured, the storms you have weathered, the battles you have fought were never meant to define you. They were meant to prepare you. God allows trials to stretch you, challenge you, and strengthen you, but his ultimate intention is to use you for something greater than yourself. He is rebuilding you not just to get by, but to go beyond, to influence, to inspire, and to impact lives. Purpose beyond survival requires clarity of vision. It demands that you look past the immediate struggles and see the larger story God is writing. When you are in survival mode, it is easy to focus on the pain, the lack, and the obstacles in your path. But when you shift your perspective, you begin to see that everything you have endured, every setback and disappointment, every tear and trial has been shaping you for a destiny that is uniquely yours. Purpose calls you to step out of the shadows of fear and limitation and into the light of God's plan for your life. Living for purpose also requires courage. It is easy to survive quietly, to do the minimum to avoid risk. But walking in purpose means daring to dream, daring to hope, daring to act even when the path is uncertain. It means taking the gifts, talents, and insights God has given you and using them boldly, confidently, unapologetically. Purpose requires action, intentionality, and faith that goes beyond what you can see with your own eyes. It is not a passive existence. It is active, dynamic, and revolutionary. Purpose beyond survival also transforms how you see your past. The pain you endured, the mistakes you made, the losses you experienced, they are no longer simply events to survive. They become stepping stones to your destiny. Your past is not a prison, it is a platform. Every setback is an opportunity to rise higher. Every challenge is a lesson in strength. Every tear is proof of resilience. When you embrace your purpose, you understand that God's work in your life is greater than your failures, stronger than your pain, and louder than your doubts. Purpose beyond survival requires a shift in priority. Survival is often focused on the self, keeping safe, managing needs, protecting what little you have. Purpose shifts your focus outward. It calls you to see that your life is not just about you. It is about the people you can influence, the generations you can impact, kingdom you can build. Purpose moves you from surviving for yourself to thriving for others, from existing for comfort to living for meaning. When you live with purpose, your life becomes a platform for transformation, a beacon of hope, and a source of inspiration. Purpose is also deeply tied to faith. When you are merely surviving, you rely on human strength, on circumstance, on fleeting hope. But when you live with purpose, you rely on God. You trust that the gifts within you are not accidental. You believe that your journey, no matter how painful, has a divine intention. You act with confidence because you know that the Creator who built you has a plan for your life, a plan to prosper you, to position you, to use you for His glory. Faith becomes the fuel that moves you from surviving to thriving, from enduring to excelling, from waiting to stepping boldly into your calling. Another aspect of living beyond survival is embracing vision. Vision transforms ordinary existence into extraordinary legacy. When you know why you are here, what God has called you to do, and the impact you are meant to make, survival is no longer enough. You begin to make decisions not out of fear, but out of alignment with purpose. You begin to invest in what matters most. You begin to pursue opportunities, take risks, and overcome obstacles with clarity and confidence. Vision allows you to see the bigger picture, to understand that your life is part of a divine plan that extends far beyond your own circumstances. Purpose beyond survival also inspires resilience. The woman who survives learns to endure. The woman who lives with purpose learns to overcome. She knows that setbacks are temporary, that storms are seasonal, and that God's plan is eternal. She faces challenges not with despair, but with determination. She rises not because the path is easy, but because she understands that her life has meaning and that every step she takes is part of a greater journey. Purpose gives her strength, perseverance, and a fire that cannot be quenched. Finally, living beyond survival is about transformation. Survival keeps you in a state of reaction, responding to circumstances and enduring difficulties and managing life. Purpose elevates you into a state of creation. You shape your world, influence others, and leave a lasting legacy. The woman who embraces purpose transforms her story from one of endurance to one of empowerment, from one of pain to one of power, from one of limitation to one of limitless potential. Her life becomes a testimony of God's faithfulness, His love, His divine plan for those who refuse to settle for survival alone. Survival is not your calling. Endurance is not your destiny. Your life was never meant to be measured by how long you can withstand the storm. It is measured by how brightly you can shine, boldly you can walk in your calling, and how fully you can embrace the gifts God has placed within you. Step beyond mere survival. Claim your purpose. Walk in faith, act in courage, lead with vision. And know this: when you live for purpose, you do more than exist. You transform lives, impact generations, glorify God in ways that survival alone could never achieve. Step into the calling that God has prepared for you. Walk boldly, live fully, and embrace the divine purpose that will turn your trials into triumph, your pain into power, and your life into a legacy of glory. God did not create you to just get by. He created you to thrive, to inspire, and to rise like a phoenix, fully alive in the power of your divine purpose. There is a season in every woman's life when everything seems delayed. The prayers you poured out feel unanswered. The dreams you envisioned seem distant. The breakthroughs you expected are nowhere in sight. And in these moments, it is easy to become frustrated, impatient, or even discouraged. Let me tell you something powerful today. Restoration is a divine process, and patience is the key to unlocking its power. Patience in restoration is not simply waiting. It is not sitting idle, hoping that life will eventually get easier. True patience is active. It is purposeful. It is the quiet, steady confidence that God is working behind the scenes, even when you cannot see the progress. It is understanding that your comeback cannot be rushed, because what God is building in you is greater than what you can imagine, stronger than what you can create, and more beautiful than what your heart can conceive. You see, restoration is more than returning to what was lost. Restoration is a rebuilding, a renewal, a recreation. It is God taking the broken pieces of your life, the shattered dreams, the fractured relationships, the disappointments, and the pain, and turning them into a masterpiece. And masterpieces take time. No artist rushes the work of their hand. No potter hurries the shaping of clay. In the same way, God cannot rush your restoration, because every detail matters. Every moment has a purpose. Every step of the process is intentional. Patience in restoration requires faith. It is the belief that just because you do not see immediate results does not mean God is absent. It is the trust that the silent seasons are as important as the celebratory seasons, that the hidden work is as vital as the visible progress. The quiet preparation you undergo now will position you for an extraordinary breakthrough tomorrow. The woman who masters patience knows that God's timing is perfect, even when her own timeline feels impossible. There is power in patience because it teaches endurance. When you wait on God, you are not passive. You are being strengthened. You are learning resilience. You are learning how to navigate challenges without giving up. Every day that you remain faithful, every moment that you refuse to surrender to doubt, every trial you endure without abandoning hope is shaping your character, deepening your wisdom, and preparing you for the moment when restoration is revealed. Patience is not wasted. It is a process of empowerment. Sometimes we look around and see others who seem to be moving faster, achieving more, or receiving their blessings sooner, and it is tempting to compare, to question, to feel envy. But patience in restoration reminds us that God's plans are unique. Your timing is not a reflection of your worth or your ability. Your timeline is custom, designed by God to match the depth, strength, and preparation that your purpose requires. What comes too early may not last. What comes too late is rarely wasted. Trust that the delay is deliberate and that the preparation is essential. Patience also cultivates humility. In a world that values speed, instant results, and immediate gratification, learning to wait is a radical act of faith. It teaches you to depend on God rather than your own strength. It reminds you that you are not in control of everything. That surrendering to divine timing is not weakness, it is wisdom. The woman who embraces patience understands that her journey is not just about what she gains, but who she becomes in the process. Moreover, patience and restoration deepens your intimacy with God. It is in the waiting that you learn to hear His voice more clearly, to trust His direction more fully, to rest in His presence more profoundly. While you wait, God is shaping your heart, strengthening your faith, teaching you lessons that only the seasons of delay can provide. The woman who waits well does not waste the time. She invests it in prayer, reflection, growth, and preparation so that when restoration comes, she is ready to receive it fully. Restoration is also about trust. Trust that the setbacks, the disappointments, and the delays are not the final word. God is never late, and He is never wrong. Your current season of waiting is not a sign of failure. It is evidence of divine strategy. The timing may feel slow, but every delay has purpose. Every closed door is redirection. Every storm is preparation. Every moment of patience is a step toward the fulfillment of God's perfect plan for your life. Patience and restoration teaches perspective. It helps you see that what you have lost is not gone forever. It is being transformed. The relationships, opportunities, dreams that seem broken or unfinished are being refined for a higher purpose, a deeper alignment with your calling, and a greater impact in your life. The woman who waits with patience sees her journey not as a series of interruptions, but as a process of divine orchestration leading to ultimate victory. Waiting often tests our spirit, but it also opens our eyes to the blessings already present. When you practice patience and restoration, you learn to